Welcome to the spine-tingling world of our unholy tales, where fear takes its darkest form and every shadow holds a chilling secret. We are your guides through the twisted and nightmarish tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat, clutching your pillow for dear life. Get ready to embark on a journey into the abyss of your deepest fears as we explore the realms of the supernatural, the macabre, and the unknown. Ethan had been plagued by sleep paralysis for as long as he could remember. It was a nightly ordeal that turned his dreams into living nightmares. The sensation of being pinned down, unable to move or cry out for help, was something he had learned to live with. Over the years he had consulted countless doctors and therapists, all to no avail. Sleep paralysis was simply a part of his life. But something had changed lately. The figures that visited him in his dreams had evolved from shapeless, shadowy apparitions into something more defined, more terrifying. He would lie in his bed, unable to move, as these entities crept closer and closer, their sinister features etched into his mind. They whispered words he couldn't understand, their voices a haunting blend of agony and malevolence. His sleepless nights left him fatigued and disoriented during the day, which only added to his already mounting anxiety. Ethan worked at a small tech company where he was known for his dedication and meticulous attention to detail. But lately, even the simplest tasks had become a struggle. His co-workers noticed, and he felt their judgmental eyes on him. One day, as Ethan entered the office, he spotted a new face among the familiar sea of cubicles. She was sitting at a desk on the far side of the room, her back turned to him. As he walked closer, he realized she bore a striking resemblance to the figures from his nightmares. Her long, jet-black hair fell over her shoulders, and her pale skin seemed almost luminous under the fluorescent office lights. It was her eyes, though, that sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. They were the same shade of intense, unnatural blue that had haunted him in his sleep. The rest of the office carried on with their work, seemingly oblivious to the newcomer, but Ethan couldn't tear his eyes away. As if sensing his gaze, the woman turned around and locked eyes with him. Her piercing blue eyes bore into his soul, and her lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. Ethan's heart raced, and he quickly averted his gaze, hoping he could shake off the feeling that the line between his nightmares and reality had begun to blur. Throughout the day, he couldn't escape the sensation of being watched. Every time he glanced in the woman's direction, her eyes seemed to follow him, even when her head was turned in another direction. It was as though she were in two places at once, sitting at her desk and standing beside him in his waking nightmare. That night, Ethan's sleep paralysis was worse than ever. The figures had changed once more, morphing into a nightmarish fusion of human and monster. They whispered to him, their voices echoing with the newcomer's blue-eyed gaze. He tried to scream, to fight against their oppressive presence, but his voice was stolen by the paralysis. When he finally awoke, it was morning, and he was drenched in a cold sweat. His heart raced, and his thoughts were a chaotic jumble. He knew he had to confront the new woman at the office. She held the key to this torment that was now bleeding into his waking hours. The following day, he mustered up the courage to approach her desk. She was already there, typing away at her computer, her blue eyes locked onto the screen. He cleared his throat and spoke, his voice trembling. "Excuse me, I don't believe we've met. I'm Ethan." She turned to face him, her eyes colder and more intense up close. "I know who you are," she replied, her voice dripping with an otherworldly quality. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine, but he pressed on. "I've been experiencing some strange things lately, things that I can't explain, and I couldn't help but notice that you bear a resemblance to the figures I see in my sleep paralysis." Her lips curled into that eerie smile again, and Ethan's anxiety escalated. "You're not the first to experience this," she said cryptically. But Ethan, you have a choice to make. The lines between nightmares and reality have blurred for a reason. She rose from her desk, and to Ethan's horror, her form began to shift and change. Her skin paled further, and her limbs elongated. Her eyes, those unnaturally blue eyes, glowed with an otherworldly light. She stood before him now, a monstrous, shadowy figure. Ethan staggered back in terror, his heart pounding in his chest. "What are you?" The creature took a step closer. "We are the ones who feed on fear, who exist in the space between dreams and reality. We have always watched you, but now the time has come for you to make your choice." As the creature spoke, the office around them dissolved into darkness. The co-workers, the desks, and the entire world he had known faded away. All that remained were the two of them, trapped in a nightmarish void. Ethan felt an overwhelming sense of dread, but he knew he had to make a choice. The creature's gaze he bore into his soul, and the whispers of his nightmares echoed in his mind. It was a choice between succumbing to fear or embracing a darkness he could never fully comprehend. And as the lines between nightmares and reality continued to blur, Ethan realized that the choice he made would determine the course of his existence, plunging him deeper into a world where the waking nightmare would become his new reality. In the nightmarish void that had consumed everything, Ethan felt a suffocating weight of dread pressing down on him. The monstrous figure, which had once resembled the new woman at the office, now seemed like an embodiment of terror itself. "What choice must I make?" Ethan stammered, his voice quivering with fear. The creature loomed closer, its otherworldly eyes never leaving his own. "You must choose between fear and power," it hissed. "In your sleep paralysis, you have always been vulnerable, trapped by the shadows. But you can choose to embrace the darkness that lurks within you. We offer you power beyond your wildest imagination." Ethan's mind raced. He had endured sleep paralysis for as long as he could remember, and it had always been a torment, a nightly struggle with unseen horrors. The idea of escaping that torment, of gaining control, was a tempting proposition. Yet, the creature's words were like a siren song, luring him deeper into a world that was alien and terrifying. "What is this power you speak of?" Ethan asked, his curiosity warring with his fear. The creature's shadowy form seemed to quiver with anticipation. "It is the power of the night," it whispered, "the ability to traverse between the world of dreams and reality, to shape the nightmares and fears of others, just as we have shaped yours. You will become like us, a guardian of the realm between worlds." Ethan's mind was in turmoil. The thought of escaping the nightly torment of sleep paralysis was enticing, but at what cost? Could he trust this malevolent being, this creature that had haunted him for so long? And what did it mean to become a guardian of the realm between worlds? The creature sensed his hesitation and leaned in closer, its unnatural eyes piercing through his defenses. "Think about the figures that visit you in your sleep," it urged. "They are our brethren, and they are part of the same power we offer you. Together, we can become something more than human." As Ethan contemplated his choice, memories of those haunting figures flashed before him, shadowy entities with sinister intentions. He had always thought of them as his tormentors, the source of his nightly suffering. But the creature's words painted a different picture. Perhaps they were not mere malevolent spirits, but something greater, something beyond human understanding. Ethan's thoughts were interrupted by the haunting voices of the figures, echoing in his mind. They whispered cryptic words, like an incantation, as if urging him to join them in their shadowy existence. With a deep breath, Ethan made his decision. He met the creature's gaze, his voice resolute. "I choose power." The creature's lips curled into a triumphant smile, and Ethan felt a surge of energy coursing through him. His body seemed to dissolve, merging with the nightmarish void that surrounded them. He was no longer confined by the limitations of his physical form, and the realm between dreams and reality was now his domain. His perception expanded, and he could see the dreams and nightmares of others, each one a tapestry of hopes and fears. He moved through the dreams like a wraith, influencing them, shaping them into his own nightmarish visions. The figures that had once haunted him now served as his loyal allies, extensions of his newfound power. In the waking world, Ethan's transformation had not gone unnoticed. His co-workers had noticed his absence and the mysterious disappearance of the new woman who had resembled the creature. The office was in chaos, and rumours of Ethan's strange encounter spread like wildfire. As he continued to traverse the realm between dreams and reality, Ethan realized that his power came at a heavy price. He had become a harbinger of fear, and the line between his own nightmares and the nightmares of others had become hopelessly blurred. The darkness he had embraced was a double-edged sword, and he could never escape the shadow of his choices. Back in the waking world, those who had known Ethan could no longer recognize the man he had become. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and his presence seemed to exude an aura of dread. The office had become a place of fear, a reflection of the waking nightmare that had consumed him. The co-workers, now plagued by nightmarish visions and sleepless nights, began to see the figures that had once haunted Ethan. They too were offered a choice between fear and power, between embracing the darkness or succumbing to it. The office descended into chaos as the lines between nightmares and reality continued to blur, and the waking world became a realm of terror. Ethan, once a victim of sleep paralysis, had become a guardian of the realm between worlds, a being that existed on the edge of dreams and reality. He had chosen power, but he had paid a price that was far greater than he could have ever imagined. And now, he was the one who haunted the dreams of others, a harbinger of nightmares, forever trapped in the waking nightmare of his own creation.